What's up, everybody? This is Bree from Young, Saved, and Free, and I am back with this week's video. I know it's super late, y'all, and I'm so sorry. It's been a crazy work week, but I'm back anyway, and because I love y'all, I will still be putting this up tonight. So, and before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I got a lot of stuff coming for y'all. Like, I got a lot coming for y'all. Y'all like my hair? I did it today for the Get Creative task for the mental health challenge. And speaking of the mental health challenge, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and each year I am doing a mental health challenge. Today's task was to get creative. And so if you want to participate in the mental health challenge, make sure you're following me on Instagram at Young, Saved, and Free. Make sure you're doing it, because I put a lot of content on Instagram anyway. I post on YouTube Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but I post to Instagram every day, multiple times a day. So make sure you're keeping up with me there. So today I'm going to be talking about my decision to go to therapy. It's funny because Iyanla is playing on TV. I don't know if y'all can see it. Y'all can't really see. But I decided to go to therapy about almost a month and a half ago. And so I do think it's been very beneficial to me. And so I decided to go after I had a big family blowout. It was very ugly. And I didn't want to go at first because I felt like I was being ganged up on. I'm just going to be honest. And I felt like everybody wasn't telling the truth. But I was the one that was crazy because I told my truth. That's just how I felt about it at the time. And, everybody got their issues to work out. It was just my turn to work mine out. So, what was I about to say? So, I guess I should give you a little bit about my background before I get started with the video, honestly. My bachelor's is in psychology. And so, when I went to undergrad, I went with the intentions of being a military and family life counselor. So that was the plan. I graduated my bachelor's. I was going to go back and get my master's in either social work or marriage and family therapy. I decided to do social work at FAMU, and then life happened, and it took my life off course. And when my life went off course at that point, that's where I had a big downfall. Now, of course, I had my issues before that I was dealing with, or not really dealing with, that I was just carrying with me as baggage. And I did go to therapy prior to recently. I went for the first time when I was a senior in college. I went to a sexual assault survivors group, and that ended up going to one-on-one therapy. And when I first started going to that group, I went to get therapy exposure because I had never been to therapy before then, and I wanted to be a therapist. So I figured it would be a good way to teach me how to interact with my clients once I became a therapist. So I was just getting, a head start. So I thought. But I went for about 6 months, and then I moved to Tallahassee, and so I went to, I was at FAMU, and then while I was at FAMU, I was in a class with Dr. Langley in the social work program. Gotta love him. He's definitely one of my favorite professors in the program, him and Dr. McKendrick. But Dr. Langley had us write a paper about our paradigm shifts. If you don't know what paradigm is, it's like a way of thinking. It's like a way of thinking. How did you get to think the way you think right now? And so in my paper, I talked about a lot of different things, and I remember getting an A on the paper, but I remember Dr. Langley writing on the back of my paper, "See me after class." And I remember thinking, what did I do? And he said, "Have you gone to therapy?" I was like, "Yeah, I've gone." He was like, "You wrote about some very traumatizing things, and I just want to make sure you've gotten the help for it." And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It happened a long time ago, and I'm good now." I went to therapy. I went for a few months and worked my issues out, and not bang my therapist. How many of y'all know where that's from? But I was like, yeah, I'm fine. You know, at that time, I thought I was fine. I knew that I had some other issues going on in my life that needed to be handled. But, you know, for the most part, I felt okay. But let's see. Like I said, I had to drop out of school because something very traumatizing happened to me. And I had to move back to Augusta. And so moving back to Augusta and under the circumstances that I moved, it was, to say it was a lot would be an understatement, because it was very, very traumatizing to me. Was just not something that I was interested in. I did not want to move back to Augusta. One, because after all the trauma I experienced in Tallahassee, I had to move back to a place that had even more trauma for me. Like, I almost lost my life several times in this city. And so it kind of got to a place where, like, I don't want to be here. Like, even I remember when I first moved back here, and I would be driving home. My parents, they stay way out in the country. Like, I'm at their house right now. I stay with them temporarily, but we live very, very far out in the country. If y'all are familiar with Augusta, I'm probably about 5 minutes from Burke County. Like, that's we way out here. And so one day I was driving home. I think I was driving home from my grandma's house or something, and I literally started hyperventilating behind the wheel, and I had an anxiety attack behind the wheel, because it was seeing certain things that were triggers for me here. My grandmother only lives about 10 minutes away, but within that 10-mile gap, there's like probably a block that's like 2 miles long, where I can tell you at least 3 things have happened to me. I was raped, I was in a car accident, and I was shot at, all in the same area, within the same 2 miles. And so when I first moved back home, I was literally having an anxiety attack behind the wheel, driving past some of these areas, because I can remember what happened. And the way that I grew up, you don't cry. You don't get to cry. Like, crying is for the weak. That's just how I was raised. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just how I was raised. You don't cry. You don't let anybody make you cry. You stay strong. Keep your feet planted. Keep going. You know, no matter what happens, you got to keep going. And it was like nobody was, they were saying you got to keep going, but they didn't say, you know, you still have to deal with what happened to you or what's going on. So growing up, I would just be harboring all this stuff in me, and I just wasn't dealing with it. And so it would manifest itself in little different ways in relationships, my interactions with other people, whether it be my friends, boyfriends, pastors, just random people, whatever. It would just start manifesting in itself in different ways. And so, like, for example, one of the things that I struggled real hard with was not feeling good enough. That is something I've struggled with my entire life. And so I remember this one particular boyfriend I was with for a very long time, on and off. We went through a lot. And I was always the one, like, I'm going to fight for my relationship because I know that this is the one I'm supposed to be with. And sorry, y'all, my TV is on behind me. So if you see, like, lights flashing up here, the TV's on. But I just remember feeling like I'm doing all this. I'm going out my way. I'm being a ride or die. I'm doing this. You know, whenever you need me, I'm right there, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I was doing all of this, right? And it was like, I felt like when things got hard, he would just quit. Like, he would never try to put in no work. He would just quit. And it would tear me down, because it was like, I'm doing all this, but none of this is good enough. Why is this not good enough? I don't understand why this not. You keep wanting to be with me, but anything I do is not good enough. So why do you keep doing this to me? Like, I couldn't understand it. And so I remember just spazzing out one day, like, you always treat me like I'm not good enough, and you did this and you did that, and blah, 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 and I did this for you and I did that. Like, it was crazy. And then, like, even my relationship most recently, my boyfriend has a million and one things going on. Sometimes he can't talk to me when I want him to talk to me. But because because I felt like he wasn't making me a priority, I would have fits. I would just start having like fits and be going off and he told me one day, he was like, this isn't healthy. And I'm like, I remember being like, what? Like, what you mean this ain't healthy? So he's like, you just be doing too much. He's like, it's not healthy for you to be like, for your moves to swing like that. I said, whatever. Like, if you would just communicate with me better, then my moods wouldn't swing the way that it do. But like, it would just, I would make everything his fault. Like, sometimes things happen and I would literally be triggered by certain things. But if this the thing, I couldn't be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't know where I come from to know how to deal with me. So I put him in this situation knowing that I had all these issues. And it was like, I didn't explain to him in depth. I would say, I'm not perfect. I got a lot of problems. I got this, but I wouldn't tell him what exactly. So I would get mad with him when he would get mad with me about me being imperfect. And I'm like, I told you I had problems. You don't want to be with me. So since you want to be with me, we're going to be there. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was crazy. Do I love him? Absolutely. I absolutely love him. I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now. But anyway, so I would like have, stuff would just keep manifesting itself in my life. And I remember probably February, March, I was writing out my prayer journals. And I don't know if y'all have to follow me on Instagram to see what exactly I mean by my prayer journal. And one of the things that I wrote was that I wanted God to break generational curses for my family. And I wanted my family to be healed. I wanted my family relationships to be restored. Because my family, ever since my granddad died, we kind of went our separate ways. Like, we still love each other. We're still family. But it was like we just went our separate ways. And we just deal with life alone. And so I wrote those things. That's generally something I miss being a kid, and me and all my cousins getting together and we cutting up and having a good time. And I feel like we should be able to go on trips and stuff as a family, and there not be an issue. So when we had this big blowout a couple months ago, and it ended up that I was the one that was going to be going to therapy. Out of everything that happened, I was the one that needed to go to therapy. Like I said, I was very, very upset about it. Like, very, very upset. I don't really talk about this. It's crazy. I haven't talked about what happened. I'm not going to go into detail about what exactly happened. But when I went, I was just like, God, why is it that everything that happened, I'm the one that got to go to therapy. She the one that got this problem, and she got this problem, and she lying, and she doing this, and she doing that, but I'm the one that got to go to therapy. And God said to me, you cannot pray for generational curses to be broken and for your family to be restored and all these other things if I don't do it for you first. And so, and even to me saying that just now, one of the things that just popped in my head was I was watching a John Gray sermon. I can't remember which one it was, but he was saying like his mother could speak to cancer because she survived that. And so I was like, well, maybe that's why I've survived so much. For me, I can speak to those things in other people. I can speak to those broken places in my family because I've been restored from that. That generational curse has been broken. in me. And well, maybe that's why he's dealing with me first. And that's part of the reason why I wrote Not Like This. Not Like This was written, I want to say, right before I started going to therapy. And this, when I tell y'all, I hear from God every time with those devotionals. I do, because when I wrote Not Like This, I didn't even know I would be going through what I was going through. I had no idea. I had no idea whatsoever. And it was like God was already telling me what I needed to know before something happened. I'm like, all right. But as far as my actual choice to go to therapy, I didn't want to go. Honestly, I was forced into going a little bit. I won't say forced. I was coerced into going, even though I felt like I didn't need to go. And it's crazy because even though I wanted to go into the mental health field at one point in my life, I felt like I did not need a therapist. And since I've been going to therapy for about a month, I absolutely appreciate my therapist. I do. She is awesome, and she's the one thing that I needed. I needed my therapist to be black. I needed my therapist to be a woman. And I needed my therapist to be saved. And that's what I got. And I asked for those things. And I went to the first person that I saw that met that criteria. I think I'll need a male perspective at some point. Yes, I will. But for right now, I'm dealing with Brianna. And so when I went to therapy, I kind of went in, not thinking that I knew everything. But at that point, I knew what my issues were. I knew what some of my issues were because of I went through a really bad breakup in 2018, and I started working on myself then. I started dealing with my issues, and it was like I got to know why I was the way that I was. How did I come to this place? How did I develop these dysfunctional relationships with my parents? And how did I, why do I think the way that I think? And why am I the way that I am? I was reading a book. It's called Positioning Yourself to Be a Wife. It's by Shamika Dean. She's also here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to her channel. And make sure you get her book and read it in its entirety. Don't be like me. When I read it, I got stuck on chapter 1 because it was causing so much pain in me to look at some of the stuff that I wrote. I was answering the questions, and I had a book that I was writing my answers to. Because in the book there are some questions. It's not like a study guide, but I like to be interactive with the books that I'm reading. So I was writing, and it was like the first chapter was called The Purge, and it was asking me all these questions. I was writing all these things down, and it was like I got stuck. When I looked at all the stuff that happened to me, I was like in my room crying. I was literally on the floor behind my bed crying in my apartment. I was living in my apartment at the time. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Because at that point, I had been completely wiped out emotionally. So after what the issue was at that point was I became aware of my issues. So like I knew that I was the way that I was because my mother was like this with me, because her mother was like that with her, and my grandmother's aunt was like that with her. My grandmother was raised by her aunt. My great grandmother was deaf and mute, so she couldn't really, she couldn't communicate that well. So my grandmother lived with my great grandmother's sister. And even on my dad's side, recognizing the things that the women in that family went through, and seeing the things that my dad went through with his father and why he was the way he was. And I got to a place where I was almost enabling the dysfunction in my life. So, well, I'm like this because this is like this. So, it's okay. Everybody's imperfect. So it's okay that I'm like this. I know why I am the way that I am. So it's okay. Like I was okay with where I was. But since going to therapy is making me deal with those things instead of just carrying those things with me. And so that's why, one of the reasons why I think it's very beneficial that everybody go. Because yes, we do all have our issues, but we don't have to keep carrying those issues with us. We can deal with them, move forward. You know what I'm saying? And so the more I went to therapy, the more I wanted to work on myself outside of therapy. So it wasn't like I would just go to therapy, sit on the couch, tell her what was going on, and she'd give me her feedback, and that was it. No, I went home and I really thought about what happened, like what was going on in session. I was thinking about my life. And so, like, one of the things that I realized is that I'm terrified of being vulnerable because I was raised not to cry. I was raised not to have any kind of emotion that way. That's my father. He raised me and my sister to be that way. You do not cry. You don't let nobody make you cry. And so I would go through things and I would just... And so even in my relationships, I was just like, I'd be going through things and I wouldn't say a word. I would not say it. And then I would get mad with them when they don't notice that I'm going through something, or they don't notice how withdrawn that I am because I'm going through something. Or they didn't realize that my behavior was changing. My behavior was changing because I was going through something, but you didn't notice. And so it went from, I can't show my emotions, to you're not paying attention to me. And then you're not paying attention to me because I'm not good enough. And so it would just snowball until I would just start spazzing out, like, and it just wasn't right for me to be that way. And so I had to step away from some things to deal with myself. And I feel like I'm about to cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. I'm gonna be happy that I made this decision. Oh man. So I just think that it's important for everybody to go to therapy. Of course, I talk about the stigma and all that stuff in another time, but go. If you have something that is holding you back, go. You just have to go. Like, there's certain things that I wouldn't have been aware of if I wouldn't have gone to therapy. I wouldn't have been aware of my control issues. I wouldn't have. And I never thought of it as a control issue, but the whole reason why I was upset when I moved from Tallahassee to Augusta is because my life wasn't going the way that I wanted it to. And I wasn't where I felt I should be. Even though I was taking all these steps so that I could be further in life, it just wasn't going that way. And I was like, I don't know what else I can do to fix this. And so I would get frustrated. It's like, I paid too much money to go to school. I've sacrificed too much to be right here in Augusta, back home, working at a hotel for $9 an hour, and I have a master's degree. And I would be pissed every single day. I still work at a hotel. I still hate my job, but I go. Because I know there's something coming. There's something coming. But that's all I have for you all today. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. And I'm sorry, I gotta go clean my face up because I'm about to boo-hoo cry. Okay. But I love you all. And thank you so much for watching. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.